Hey guys, welcome to Church Coffee, Christianity, Conservatism, and Culture. I'm one of your hosts, Walter.
And I'm your co-host, Rob, and today we have the Executive Director of Abundant Life Ministries, Eddie Howard. Eddie, welcome to Church Coffee.
Thank you. Pleasure being here.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Eddie, how do you drink your coffee or other caffeinated beverages?
Oh, how do I drink my coffee? Most of the time, black. When I put sugar in it, it have to be raw sugar.
All right. That's the brown packet, right? Sugar in the
That's the
raw.
brown packet.
Gotta have the
That's the
brown packet.
one that kind of keep you halfway healthy.
Yeah, I like it. Halfway healthy. I feel like that should definitely be a sugar brand, halfway healthy sugar.
Oh, okay. Might be on to something.
I'm a man of ideas, so my wife says.
So, Eddie, give us your story, just your life story, and how you came to work for Abundant Life.
Yeah. Wow. My life story. Well,
In a compressed version.
absolutely. Well, that's what I was thinking. When I said my life story, I'm like compressed to myself. So in 1999, I was just released from incarceration. Um, and I lived in the Prospect Avenue community. At the time, it was called Oak Ridge Garden. And, got out, drifting, love the Lord, trying to figure out how to serve, trying to figure out to use my Christianity, how to, just stay on that straight and narrow. Trying to figure out, where my support system was at. Um, and so Abundant Life Ministry had been established in Oak Ridge Garden. Um, and so just seeing it there and just start going down, picking up around the ministry. It was actually in one of the units that was down in what's called Greenstone now, but it was Oak Ridge Garden. Then it got changed to Blue Ridge Commons. So the apartment complex, the name had changed a couple times, and just going down and cleaning up around the ministry, and then ran into this guy who was out looking for some of the participants. His name John Keeson, and so we got to talking, and I started going down and just volunteering and just kind of telling my story, my life story, how I got there. And then ran into one of the founders, Amy Sherman. Um, start going to the prayer group, start going to the men's meeting. Um, and then, just the young man that was running it at the time, the executive director at the time, he was like, well, what you think about coming on for staff? And it was maybe and a if, because I had started my business back, which is an auto mechanic. I'm a mechanic by trade, and so
Very
finally
nice.
made the decision to come on staff at Abundant Life Ministry. I tell people there's three things that kept me on the straight and narrow. You know, uh, I married my wife. Not particularly in this order. I found the Lord, I married my wife, and I ran into Abundant Life Ministry. So them three things kind of impact me within that first year from incarceration that really held me tight. And Abundant Life, they was a support system. They continue to, encourage me, and then gave me an opportunity to give back and serve in the community that I've taken from, negatively for so many years. And and it really became that shining light for me and impacted me in a way, whereas um that was accountability, and that accountability was that I'm down there and I'm trying to serve, and now I have a community that looking at me. So how do I go back to my old ways? you know uh and then they invited me in. They loved on me. They cared for me. Amy, became a great friend. John became a great friend. Rydell, and that whole support system. And I thought it was pretty amazing that, here's this ministry down here, and here's a whole lot of white folks that loving on us. And, I didn't at the time, it was like, wow, they have a hidden agenda. But as I began to build relationships. I realized these people are genuine. They really want to help this community.
Awesome.
And at the time, Abundant Life, Prospect Avenue, it was a lot of violence, a lot of gunplay in that community. And what happened, a little girl had got killed. And Lula Roger, who was an elder in the community, had been praying about, God, what are we going to do? And that's when Trinity Church, they had this group they was praying over where they was going to go to and try to serve in the community. And when they met Lula Roger, uh, you know Amy's story is that Lula Roger was like, yeah, I've been praying for help, but I didn't know God was going to send this big white church. So that's kind of how it went. And so Abundant Life was that support system. I came on staff, stayed on staff for right at 8 years, from 2000 to 2008. Got burned out and moved to Chesapeake and stayed in Chesapeake 17 years. And just got this call that Abundant Life was looking for executive director. And I was like, well, that's not really what I do. I'm a mechanic by trade. I did serve. It's a program called 5-8 that myself and the young man, John, we founded. But in my mind, I was not ED material. And just in praying about it and just looking at it and then talking to my wife, and she was like, honey, what better testimony would God have than someone who lived in the community, went through that time of life where he was in and out of trouble, and then come back and serve as executive director of a ministry, given that background. And so that's kind of was the piece that pushed me across the top to accept the job. So that's the short version.
Yeah, that's cool. So, excuse me. So it was founded by, like as you said, a large white church.
Yeah.
Hey, it's yeah, I think that's awesome. What can you tell us a little bit more about the programs that Abundant Life offers, and even more specifically, I saw that y'all have the V Trades program.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Slightly curious, what programs y'all offer, and
mm-hmm,
then
mm-hmm,
a little bit more
mm-hmm.
curious about what the V Trade program is.
Okay. Yeah. We offer tutoring, after school tutoring that's actually in the schools. We tutor um one of the elementary schools, Johnson Elementary School, Buford Middle School, and Walker Upper Elementary School. We actually run the tutoring programs in the school. And then for our high schoolers, we have mentors that walk with them for 5 years, 1 year post high school. So help them with their schooling, help them, with character building, help them, to identify with, their spirituality, and, hopefully they understand what it is, to walk in the gospel. And that's why, we walk along beside them. And then V Trades is a new program. The V stand for vocation. And so what it is, we start young. We start in the 6th grade, introducing the young kids to trades, to vocations, have presenters come in, talk to them about it. Because what we're finding out in our community, we'll go through school and we'll talk about academics. And then when they get to that grade where it's that deciding point, most of our kids find out, oh, I can't go to college. I can't go to higher education. Either whether it's their grades, whether it's financial, whether it's their family circumstances, whether it's the financial part of it. And so then they stuck and they have to make this on the fly decision, 9th, 10th grade, like, oh, what I'm gonna do with my life after all these years of, hey, go to college, go to college, go to college. That's what we're promoting. And so, say they decide they want to take a career or go into that trade, they go to the tech school. Well, they kind of on the fly making this decision like, okay, well, let me try mechanics. And it might not work for them. It might not be a fit. Or let me try electrical. And it might not be a fit for them. And so what V Trades do is do assessments. We work with Virginia Career Works, young lady that come and do assessments for us, just kind of fill out where the kids at. And so that will follow them. And then we work with another organization called K-HIP. And so we really try to help them build a career path young. And then when they get to a point where they can make a informed decision, they'll know where they fit at. So we're not doing the trades. We're just making sure that we're providing that avenue for them to understand. And then also, there are trades that our kids usually won't hear about. Like, you really can be a computer technician and not have to go to college to do that. You really can, go to, UVA and become, they sterilize instruments for surgery and stuff like that. You could be an X-ray technician and you don't have to go to college. And so we're introducing them to the trades that you never think about, as a trade opportunity, but you will think like, oh, I got to go to college and get this degree to do that. And we'll say, no, you don't have to. And so that's what V-Trades is. We partner with a lot of other organizations, like I mentioned, K-HIP, Virginia Career Works, K-Tech, Music Resource Center, the Lighthouse, who do production. And so we have a great partnership with a lot of organizations. Facility managements at UVA. They have another program called Pathways that kind of put you on a trade path. So as they grow and we work with the older ones, we're able to point them. We're able to do the assessment. We're able to teach them how to build a resume. We're able to teach them how to do an interview. And so these soft skills that you need to get in the field, but, and not excluding entrepreneurship. Like, what's your dream? What you want to do? You want to be a business person. So let's look at a business model. Let's introduce you to these people that do business models. Network to Works up at Piedmont, Virginia College. So that's what we do with V-Trades. Really try to put them in position to make an informed decision, starting young and getting them used to it. And there's a lot of programs now across the nation that's really doing that and starting with these kids very young and introducing them. So that's
Yeah.
what I want to see happen, and with our youth in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And so
We will pause for a sponsor break from Handy Mike and Genesis Contracting. Handy Mike and Genesis are a locally owned and family operated handyman and contractor company serving the greater Charlottesville area since 2016. They are a Class A licensed, bonded, and insured contractor with over 60 years of knowledge. Their teams of skilled, reliable, and trustworthy technicians have been handpicked in order to provide our customers with outstanding service across a broad range of tradesman skills. Handy Mike can do all of your home maintenance repairs and small projects, from changing a light bulb to deck repairs to electrical and plumbing fixtures, and so much more. Genesis Contracting can handle larger jobs, including bathroom and kitchen renovations, remodels, and additions. If you're looking for a team to help make your dreams a reality and bring your concept to creation, call them today for a free estimate. 434-422-6000. You can also find more of their information in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. I think there's something valuable with the trades. So I'm in residential construction, own my own remodeling company, and we're making steps to get more into development, building, or the housing brand. But I think there's such a value in promoting trades. Like, you can do trades in college, trades or college or both, whatever. But I think there's such a value, especially in the summertime. You're like, go work for an electrician, go work for a carpenter, go work for a plumber.
Absolutely.
And at least get that experience.
Absolutely.
In Texas, you can get your apprentice card at 16. And so it's like, oh, hey, instead of just sitting around, go do this, earn some money, gain some hours.
Yeah.
Keep busy, so
Yeah.
I have a
And
high
that's
value.
why, that's why we connect with the program called K-HIP. It's for youth. It's by the city of Charlottesville, and it started at 14, go all the way to 21, and they pay kids to come in and walk along, work for the different businesses and organizations, and so that you're right. It's super important that we invest in these kids. And I'm trying not to cross over into these other questions as we talk about trade. So yeah.
But you touched that is kind of a good segue to our next question. Your Abundant Life has very much been embedded in the community, embedded in the Prospect neighborhood, throughout the local schools. What is it? What is Christian community development? And maybe you can outline that a little bit more, how Abundant Life has just spread through these great areas of ministry.
Yeah. Yeah. Christian community development, they have a philosophy, started with a couple of guys, Perkins and Wayne Gordy out of Chicago. Um, and CCD, they started out with the three R's. And the three R's is reconciliation, redistribution, and relocation. And so, reconciliation is a big thing. How do we make amends? How do we come together? How do we form a partnership? And then, just really walking in that and figure out, when you think about redistribution, we was talking about trades. How do we redistribute wealth? How do we teach people to move in that place of wealth? So CCDA have a lot of principles, empowerment. They have, church based, and what's important is listening to the community, and seeing what the community, not only what they want, but what they offer, and then take what they offer and build on what they offer and strengthen them on what they bring to the table. John Perkins got a saying, go among them. That's the relocation. Learn from them. That's listening to the community. Take what they know. Empower them, and at the end of the day, they can say they did it for themselves. And that's the key. When you're doing it for yourself. And at Abundant Life, we talk about that all the time. We're not going to do it for you. We want to do it with you. And that's our motto. We do it with you. And my staff is really great with that. Come along beside parents, and we also have adult programs, our financial literacy program. I didn't mention that. We have 14 homeowners that came through our financial literacy program, that started out as an IDA program that the government supplemented years ago when I was there in my first tenure, and Abundant Life continued that, and a young lady who's been teaching that, Samir, who's our accountant. So just empowering the community. So that's part of the CCDA principle. Your approach, and that holistic approach, mind, body, and soul. And so I just think it's important to have that spiritual component, because that helps grow who you are. you know and you're not looking on the outside of things for your joy, for your happiness, for your completeness, for your empowerment. That spiritual empowerment helps you look on the inside and find that power within yourself, and I think that's very important. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I appreciate, there's a book I read years ago called oh man, it's by Arthur Blanks, I think is his name, but he was with the American Enterprise Institute, but he was talking about the value of work and how work kind of create its work, and work when we're working, it can revitalize us. It can bring sense of purpose and dignity. And so you had mentioned there's 14 homeowners who came through y'all's financial literacy course. What are some other examples? Obviously, no names named, but what are some examples that we're seeing a change in people's lives?
Oh my gracious, man. There's so many examples out there. We'll have young men go on to be professional football players. And I call his name because he have done a couple engagements for us. Rashad Davis, who was a running back, played for the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was like, I know that name. Okay. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So he has a ring.
He got a ring. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Something the Cowboys haven't seen in over 30 years. So
yeah, man. And then there's other people. We have a young man, Adrian, who's now a coach at Charlottesville High School for their junior varsity. We got another young man named Richard who works for the government for trauma care, like when they have shootings and things around the United States. He leads a team. He also trained in victim impact and approaching trauma, and how to work through trauma. We have, I mean, you know, we have a couple guys I know work at UVA, facility management, and been there for years. Um, so, you know, and young lady who came through our program, got her own business, live in Atlanta, Georgia. Man, there's testimony after testimony. And, you know, and to be honest, I'm a testimony. I'm an abundant life testimony, you know.
Yes.
Uh, you know, all in itself, you know, that abundant life was my support system, you know. And there's many more. You know, I think about Travis Watson, who came in, played UVA basketball for UVA, came into the community, you know, and when he was young, you know, he was like, oh, you know, he was searching for where he was from, even as a young player at UVA, and began to mentor him. And now he's back serving in the community. You know, he's back in Charlottesville and he's serving. So there's a lot of testimonies out there. You know, I think about a young man that I'm in conversation with now that played for UVA, Sean Singletary. Uh, you know, and so we're trying to do some things together right now. You know, there's so many testimonies. We have people that have come back on staff after they came from the through the programs. Um, so, you know, it is testimony. We have grandparents now that's their kids come because they came through the program years ago. You know, it's like, I know what who Abundant Life is, I know what they do, and I want, you know, my granddaughter to be here. I mean, we have grandparents, we have parents, you know, and one of the things for me is, you know, even with, again, trying not to get in your question when it comes to staff, uh, you know, we try to hire from within, you know, and that's a piece of that empowerment. So yeah, we have lots of testimonies that have came out of Abundant Life Ministry.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Walter, why don't you ask the staff question next? Eddie, Eddie's just anticipating our next few questions, which is great. So I'm gonna
I'm
let
trying to stay out
Walter.
of them.
Hey, that's a good fluid conversation.
I love it. Yeah, AL has younger staff. In what ways have you seen them grow and serve in the community?
Oh, wow, yeah, we do have young staff right now. Our staff average age is about 27 years old. And you know, just watching them come in, not knowing you know, what to expect, not sure how to serve the community, and just learning, you know, how to become a part of the community. That's the biggest teaching tool. Like, you know, become one of the community. I just, man, I have to give you this testimony. A young man that's he been with us for a little over 2 years now. Now he came in just raw. And even in the interview process, you know, I was asking him different questions, community-based questions, you know, how would you react to this? And he was just like a short answer guy, you know, young, white, yuppie, you know, looking for a job. And I had interviewed 2 or 3 community members. And so I'm like, man. And so after about I don't know, 45 minutes, it was like, well, I don't even know what else to say because this guy's not answering my, you know, it's like, yes, sir. And then there'll be a one liner or no, sir. And it'll be a one liner. And I was like, oh, he would never make it. This community will eat him alive. Right. You know, 30 minutes after the interview, I'm sitting there and I'm just praying, like, okay, Lord, you know, I interviewed 4 different people. And he was like, I want you to call. And I tell you his name, I want you to call Calvin now. And I was like, Calvin, like, no, Lord, you that's me talking, right? And so we end up hiring them, man. And so we had one of the families, the kid, 3 of the kids that Calvin worked with, their dad got killed. He was a part of Buck Squad. Yeah, and that's a team in Charlottesville that kind of go and help, you know, negotiate and help curtail gun violence and stuff. So anyway, he got killed, um, and so we was trying to figure, okay, how we gonna, you know, minister to this family, what we gonna do. And I got a phone call and it was a grandmother, and she was like, Eddie, can I come down and talk to you? And I was like, yeah, sure, come on down. And so she came down, and Faith was in my office. She was like, well, what we want to do, we want to send her some flowers. And I was like, no, we live in impoverished community. We're not sending flowers. We want to send food, you know. And so she came in, she sat down, and and she was talking about, what had happened. And I was like, well, tell us, how we can help you. What's your biggest need? And she said food. And I was like, wow. And she said, but I have another request. And I was like, what's that? Again, remember I said Calvin is this white, young, yuppie head, look like he, I don't know, maybe from Boston, I don't know. And she say, can Calvin come and sit with the kids while we go take care of business? That was one of the most humbling moments for me. That was the moment that I said, God, you really do know more than I do, right? When you have that God moment, for her to ask for Calvin, and it just rocked me back in my chair, man. And I've never forgot that. Like, wow, God knows. Just think I wasn't gonna hire this guy, right? Yeah, and now all the kids love him, the parents love him. Everybody know Calvin, and I'm like, how you know Calvin? They like, we just do. So.
I love it. I love it. I love how the Lord works. Like I tell my wife, because I got to remember this myself. It's like God's already at work. He already has
Already,
prepared good works.
already,
And
yeah,
how he,
yeah,
even with Calvin, he had already been preparing that, and
yes,
how he was going to use Calvin in
yeah,
these folks' lives
yeah,
to
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah. So going switching gears just a little bit.
Mm-hmm,
I threw my question in late. Um, so again, I don't know much about the community that you guys are
mm-hmm,
serving, but I just
mm-hmm,
generally have an idea
mm-hmm,
of
mm-hmm,
poverty and the
mm-hmm,
different
mm-hmm,
components of it. Again, not a
mm-hmm,
professional at this,
mm-hmm,
but how does housing or how does housing affect someone's ability to either get out of poverty
mm-hmm,
or even
mm-hmm,
I think there's obviously a long conversation about affordable housing and
absolutely, yeah,
middle, but
yeah,
how does housing affect someone's ability to get out of poverty, or even, is there a long-term strategy
yeah,
to helping people get out of poverty, even if it
yeah,
takes one or two generations?
yeah, yeah. First, I'll say we serve in one of the 5 government designated areas as a low income area in Charlottesville.
Okay.
So we in one of 5 of them. And when you think about housing, I'll just say when you look at the rental market that keep you broke. The sad thing is in Charlottesville, just to earn a living wage, you got to work 2 jobs because it's so high. The price of living in Charlottesville is just so high that, and when I say that, that's for our community who do the, minimum labor stuff like at UVA or other little restaurants and stuff. Most of them to survive, if they're not in subsidized housing, they have to work 2 jobs to survive. And even in subsidized housing, it's just hard. It's tough, but how do it affect that? Well, if we could help the community in any kind of way, that would be to help them understand that if you really want to move, you know, toward, and I'll say this loosely, what look like success, far as housing, first you have to see yourself there. And then you have to be able to understand the importance of paying mortgage over paying rent. And that's a concept that's hard to build because most people see that, oh, if I buy a house, then I got all this maintenance I have to take care of, and I got to do all this work myself. So really changing the mindset of what it is to be a homeowner and what it is to be a homeowner, with affordable housing. Charlottesville got a lot of conversation with affordable housing. I'm on the board with UVA with affordable housing that looking at 3 different places where they're going to be building affordable housing for community. And that's the designated population that these are for. And so with that in the making, there's another project in Charlottesville that's happening at the 501 Cherry Avenue property. Well, two companies came together and they're building affordable housing. But what I want to say is, to understand affordable housing, we also have to begin to understand the value of what it is to work hard for what you want. And I'll get thrown out the window for this, but I just think entitlements have ruined our community. And that's just my personal thought. You just leaning on entitlement and you get used to it. And you don't understand the success of working hard and being able to buy a house. Now, are there
And and
affordable
and
house?
Eddie and Eddie, why don't you define for our listeners entitlements?
Well, just depending on government subsidies, like the more children you have, the more money you get. I have to call it the way it is. And so you lean on that. And so you don't know how to do a job interview, and you don't particularly have a skill. And so I'm going to lean on what's easy. And I think, that's why I feel like V trades is so important because it helps you lean into something that's, yes, not easy, but it's your future. It's a future to housing. It's a future for your kids. It's a future for your kids when you really understand what it is to start at ground level and say the first thing I have to do is get some great work habits. I work with men and they ask me all the time, it's like, well, what's the most important thing to keeping a job? And I say, go to bed at night. They're like, huh? I go to bed at night. You're not gonna keep no job going to bed 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. If you're a night owl, get a third shift job. Don't get a day job if you like staying up all night long. So it's little things like that that have to be taught, like, oh yeah, you're right. If I go to bed, I can get up. You dragging out and you call, missed the last bus and you say, hey Eddie, can you give me a ride to work? What time you supposed to be at work? Oh, 8 o'clock. It's 8:15. Just small things. It's not this great big giant leap. And that's how I'm a homeowner. Thank God I'm a homeowner for the second time. And I teach that to my kids. Look at home ownership. I'm not saying start there, but make sure that's in your projected future. And that's what we try to do our financial literacy program is like, project your future while you're in this program. So you want a house? Let's do that. If you want to start a business, let's do that. So home ownership, and sad as it is, affordable housing in Charlottesville right now is a thing of the past. To be real honest with you, it's a
Yeah,
thing of the past.
yeah, and I
So
think even like here in Dallas, Fort Worth, it is. I tell you, I feel like it's a thing of the past. Even if I was to say, okay, even my building cost to build a
hmm
house
hmm hmm
affordable, and that's before I can make any money.
hmm hmm
It's always that thing. You're like, oh, affordable housing. You're like, well, land
hmm
costs, building costs. Well, what can
yes,
we do? Right?
yeah,
A company has to make money, right?
yes,
You're in business
absolutely,
to make money. But you also have to, are there creative ways
yeah,
that use costs
yeah,
and
yeah,
I like what you said about projecting your future, projecting yourself, asking yourself, do I belong here?
yeah,
And the answer is yes.
yes,
Right.
absolutely, yeah,
Uh, even the little thing of go to bed on time. I'm like, oh man, I need to do that. And it's little things. It's like little things you're like,
little things, yeah,
like a friend of mine, she's a teacher over it's a predominantly, Title IX or maybe lower income school or whatnot. And
hmm hmm
she has a kid who comes in, he might come in 3 days a week because he's in between
yeah, yeah,
wherever mom or dad or granny,
yeah,
grandpa, what are, and he comes
absolutely,
in tired and she's like, sleep.
yeah,
Here's your
yeah,
desk,
yeah,
sleep, because I know you're not
yeah.
getting it.
And if he tired, he hungry.
And if he, oh yeah, and if he's tired, he's hungry.
Yeah,
And so it's like, oh man, like little things. What habits are we building
yeah,
that are leading us to our success?
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I mentioned Sean. I've been in conversation with him and his team, and me and my team. Uh, they want to build a gym. And we've been, casting vision out about building a center. And so we've been talking, how can these two things mesh together? And even within that, when we look at our property, it don't look like we have a lot. Not only, hopefully, we'll get this center build, we'll be able to build 14 affordable houses right there on our property in Prospect Avenue. And so we got the whole plan layout. We got a great architect who's working on it. We just met yesterday. So, and it's just that one piece at a time, how do you push into it? Giving opportunities. So not just saying here it is, but also saying here's how you get there, you know, and that dual role and teaching, like you say, them small things, being persistent. I think about our kids. Up until last year, we had a 100% successful graduation rate for kids that started in their youth program, went all the way through high school. It was 100%. We lost one kid last year, and he's actually in class now to get his GED. Yeah, I know. And 28 years of doing this. 28 years of doing this. A 100% success rate. God is doing something right. And I have to say, God, he's doing something 100%. When we was doing the numbers and looking back and pulling names of programs, we were like, oh, yeah, this person there, this person this. One kid that came all the way through our program. One kid, and that happened last year. Yeah. And you talk about poverty, education is the key. Education is the key to getting out of poverty. To be honest with you. And what that education looked like for you, I believe in finishing high school. I have a GED, and that have helped me, that have moved me into a place of success. Just having a GED to say I didn't graduate, but I have this. Went to Piedmont, Virginia Community College, took some classes, actually be going back this semester to try to finish out. Yeah, at 69 years old, right?
Get it.
Never too late, right? And so that education, and then once you look at the academic side of education, what about education in your field? Like, I'm a mechanic. When I started going to these schools when I worked for Ford, and I found out the average car have 21 to 23 computers. You almost got to be a computer nerd to work on a car. They call them modules, but they're actually computers.
For computers.
21 of them. And so when I do presentations to kids, I bring in my analysis machine, turn it on, and say, look, you got to learn how to read pitch. You got to learn, what it is, to be doing overlays with wires, and the different tests. And kids are amazed because when you hear mechanic, you think dirty greasy. Listen, auto mechanics is not a dirty man job anymore.
Nope.
To be honest with you, you don't go home dirty in auto mechanics no more. You are tired of work and won't look strange.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
So you always troubleshooting, you pinpoint testing, and so it's a wide range. And when I tell that to kids, they were like, really? Like you have to do all that? And I'm like, absolutely. Technology today is not just about picking up a wrench. You resolve most problems today with a car on your computer. You got a transmission problem, you plug it in, you run pads, you put some more numbers in and kind of change the way they calculate, and bam, you solve the problem, right?
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
So
it. I love
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well, again, you've anticipated a bunch of our questions. You've already answered some of those, Eddie. Thank you so much. I think our last question might be one of the most important. How can people get involved with Abundant Life, or just in general, how should people get involved with these type of on-the-ground ministries?
How people get involved. First, let me tell you, Abundant Life is very unique in itself in the Charlottesville area. We are a grassroots ministry, and we're the only grassroots community ministry in Charlottesville. Now, we have a lot of ministry that's in churches and different stuff that's doing great work, but we are a grassroots ministry that's planted right in the neighborhood. How do you get involved? Wow, man, you can go on our website. You can look at the different areas, the different things. We need volunteers. I tell people, if you got 1 hour a week, every week, you're a great volunteer. 1 hour for our tutoring program. You can do a Tuesday every week. Our tutoring program 4 days a week. You can donate. We are nonprofit. We start over every year. When we start over fresh every year, our budget is right at $620,000. We have to raise that every year to keep going. That's important. If you're outside organization, if you are offering something, we have an organization that do counseling service called New City Counseling. Well, when my staff need counseling, or if there's a community member need counseling, we can call and like, hey, we got a member. They can fill out the application. They have a scholarship they can fill out to see kind of, how it can be subsidized for them to get counseling. Had a family who their husband and dad died about 3 weeks ago. And so now we're getting the mother and the kid who's in the 12th grade now. Awesome young lady. We're getting them counseling, ready kids. We're partnering with them. So different types of environments. Again, we need volunteers. You can be administrator. You can come in and help us with administration stuff. You can come in, you like, oh, I don't want to be a tutor. You can do a classroom setup. But let me say this, to be a tutor, you don't have to do anything but build your relationship with the kids. That's what our tutoring program is all about. And we have they write up they lesson planners. We have lesson planners. You'll get a packet and it's all interactive. It's no guesswork in it. You don't have to do math. You don't have to do reading. You just come in, you open that packet up, and you sit down with that kid. And the first thing my coordinators would say before you do anything, like school is starting, we have lots of volunteers. Build a relationship the first couple of weeks. Just build a relationship. Just enjoy yourself with the kid. And that kid will work with you, will love on you. One of the biggest moments, and I know that's not part of it, but one of the biggest moments when I went to a graduation over at Johnson Elementary School, and that young lady's son walked across that stage in the 4th grade, and to watch that mother and watch that kid and watch that tutor stand in the middle of that aisle and lean on each other and just weep because that kid got through elementary school. Powerful.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's a great positive note to end on. Eddie Howard, Executive Director of Abundant Life Ministries in Charlottesville, Virginia. Thank you so much for coming on Church Coffee. And we'll drop in the show notes links to various things mentioned today, especially how you can volunteer with Abundant Life. Thank you so much, Eddie. We look forward to helping you with your ministry however you need.
Thank you. Pleasure meeting you, Walter.
You as well, Eddie. Nice to meet
Rob,
you.
look forward to seeing you some more.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Everyone else, take a look at Abundant Life. Please give or volunteer. And we'll catch you next time on Church Coffee.
Our album art was done by my wife, and our theme music was composed by TJ Stokes.